Rachel Cole had always been the kind of woman who believed in loyalty and sacrifice. In her mind, love was an investment, something that grew stronger with time and effort. She gave everything to her marriage to Terrence Cole. Years of unwavering support, love, and trust. Terrence, however, had a different story in mind, one that would change both of their lives forever. Rachel had no idea that the man she stood by through thick and thin, the man who promised her forever, was living a secret life, hiding not just his emotions but a fortune worth $12 million. Terrence Cole was born into hardship. Growing up in South Carolina, he knew what it meant to struggle. His family had never been rich, and every dollar was stretched to its limits. He worked 2 jobs just to help pay the bills, and by the time he was 18, he was already shouldering responsibilities that most adults couldn't bear. But what people didn't know was that Terrence had a relentless work ethic that pushed him to work harder than anyone else, and, more importantly, to hide his true feelings. He learned early on that life didn't offer you things, you had to take them. And so Terrence kept his disappointments and frustrations to himself, swallowing them, moving on. But deep inside, a hunger for something more was growing. Rachel, on the other hand, came from a stable middle-class family where her parents were teachers. They weren't rich, but they had enough to make sure Rachel had everything she needed. She grew up believing she could be anything, and she carried that optimism into adulthood. When she met Terrence at community college, their connection was immediate, though understated. She was bright, full of ambition, and he was the quiet, hard-working man who promised stability. Their differences drew them together, and soon enough, they were married. The wedding was small, modest, but full of hope. Their early years together were filled with quiet struggles, but Rachel believed in their future. She put her dreams of a higher career aside to support him, working a steady job as an administrative assistant while Terrence took on any job he could find, from construction to driving deliveries on weekends. Money was tight and the bills were often late, but Rachel believed things would improve. She trusted that if they just worked hard enough, they would be able to make a life for themselves. But as time passed, the cracks in their relationship grew. Terrence, despite his hard work, began to pull away. He became distant, silent, and refused to communicate about their mounting financial troubles. Rachel, in her attempts to hold on to what they had, felt increasingly isolated. Despite everything, Rachel believed that love would carry them through. But then one day, the unimaginable happened. Terrence came home with news that shattered Rachel's world. He wanted a divorce, just like that. There was no fight, no explanation, just a cold, calculated decision to end their marriage. To Rachel, it was like the rug had been pulled out from under her. She had no idea what had caused this sudden shift. The man she had given everything to was gone, and in his place was a stranger who couldn't even look her in the eye. Rachel, heartbroken and betrayed, tried to move on, though it seemed impossible. She struggled financially, taking on extra shifts at the diner to make ends meet. But no matter how hard she worked, the emptiness remained. Terrence, on the other hand, moved on quickly. He seemed to have it all now. Luxury cars, a beautiful new wife, and a life that looked nothing like the man she once knew. She tried to forget him, but everywhere she turned, reminders of her broken marriage surfaced. She had no idea that Terrence's new life was built on a secret that would eventually come back to haunt them both. Rachel's suspicions about Terrence's new wealth began to grow. Her friends tried to comfort her, telling her that sometimes marriages just end. But Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. She started looking into Terrence's life, finding traces of his sudden prosperity, expensive properties, luxury cars, and vacations. And then she stumbled upon something that turned her world upside down. A news article about the sale of a mansion in Georgia, the location of which matched the details Terrence had always kept hidden. The realization hit Rachel like a ton of bricks. Terrence had won $12 million in the lottery and kept it a secret. All the years of struggling, the financial strain, the late nights working had been for nothing. While Rachel barely scraped by, Terrence had been living a life of luxury. But the biggest betrayal came when Rachel found a photo online. One of Terrence and his new wife, Kendra, posing together at a lavish event. It was taken barely a year after their divorce. Rachel was devastated. How could he have erased her so completely, so quickly? How could he have built a new life on the ruins of their marriage? Rachel's anger turned into obsession. She hired a private investigator, Charles Hammond, to dig deeper. With each passing day, the evidence piled up. Photos of Terrence laughing with his new wife. Images of him with a child Rachel didn't even know existed. Rachel's world was shattered all over again. She had been replaced. Her life had been stolen, and she couldn't ignore it anymore. But the obsession came at a cost. It began to consume her. Her nights were spent scouring social media, following every lead, and learning more about the man who had broken her heart. One night, after weeks of surveillance, Rachel made a decision. She was going to confront Terrence. She parked her car across the street from his new house, watching him through the windows, seeing the life he had built without her. The sight of him, so confident, so happy, drove Rachel to the brink. She needed answers, and she would get them. She waited for the perfect moment, then walked up to the front door. Terrence was there, leaning against his car, talking to a neighbor. When he saw her, his face shifted from surprise to annoyance. Rachel, trembling but resolute, called out his name. "Terrence," she said softly. Terrence looked at her, his expression cold. "What are you doing here?" Rachel swallowed hard. "I just want to talk. I need you to look at me and tell me why. Why you left me with nothing while you built all of this." Terrence's eyes narrowed, a smirk spreading across his face. "That life is over, Rachel. You need to move on." Rachel's heart shattered once again, but she wasn't going to let him dismiss her this time. "You never mattered," he said, the words cutting deep. In a moment of pure rage, Rachel reached into her bag, pulling out a knife she had carried with her for weeks. It was the only thing that gave her courage. She lunged at him, desperation driving each thrust. The fight that ensued was quick, brutal. Terrence's body fell, lifeless, as Rachel stood over him, her breath ragged, tears streaming down her face. What followed was chaos. Police sirens blared in the distance. Kendra screamed from the doorway, and the neighbors began to gather. Rachel didn't resist when the officers arrived, cuffing her with the same numbness that had overtaken her for years. She whispered through the chaos, "He erased me." Now the investigation begins. Was this a crime of passion, or was it the breaking point for a woman betrayed for years? The air was thick with tension as Rachel sat in the back of the police car, her hands cuffed and her heart racing. The sirens wailed, cutting through the darkness. But in her mind, she heard nothing but the deafening silence of a broken heart. The blood that had spilled in the driveway was still fresh in her memory, but the emptiness inside her was even more profound. She had given everything to Terrence, her love, her sacrifice, her trust. And now in the blink of an eye, he was gone. The man she had clung to for years, the man who had promised forever, lay dead, and all Rachel had left was the rage that drove her to that moment. The police station was cold and sterile when she arrived. The fluorescent lights hummed as she sat in the interrogation room, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and emotion. She was already processing the inevitable. She had killed Terrence, but what did it mean? Did it make her a murderer? Was she justified? Would the world see her as a broken woman, a victim of betrayal? Or would they see her as the woman who let her emotions run wild, tearing apart the man who had wronged her? As she sat there, the door opened. The officer who had arrested her walked in. his face unreadable. He didn't say anything at first. He simply sat down across from her, folding his hands on the table. His silence felt suffocating, the weight of the investigation already pressing on her. Rachel wanted to speak, but the words didn't come. What could she say? Could she explain what she had done? Could anyone understand the depth of betrayal she had felt, the years of quiet sacrifice, the moments of pain that had built up, culminating in that single violent act? Then the door opened again, and a new voice entered the room. Detective Charles Hammond, the seasoned investigator who had been assigned to the case, walked in with a sense of authority that made Rachel's stomach tighten. His gaze was sharp, his experience evident in the way he carried himself. He looked at her for a moment, his eyes studying her, before he finally spoke. "You killed your husband," he said, his tone flat and matter-of-fact. "That's the fact we're dealing with right now. But what we need to understand is why." Rachel looked up at him, her eyes wild, her breath quickening. She had never expected to be here, never imagined that this would be the story she'd one day tell. The story of her life, her love, and now her descent into madness. "I didn't kill him because I wanted to," Rachel whispered, her voice breaking. "I killed him because he took everything from me. He took my trust. He took my dreams. He stole my life." Charles Hammond studied her closely, his eyes narrowing as if he was trying to piece together the puzzle that had become her life. "And you think that justifies it? The anger? The violence?" Rachel shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't think. I just felt it. It was like everything inside me broke. And when I looked at him, I couldn't stop. I just wanted him to feel what I felt. The emptiness, the betrayal, the pain." There was a long silence as Detective Hammond processed her words. Finally, he spoke again, his voice softer this time. "I understand that you're angry, Rachel, but that's not the whole story. You're telling me about your pain, but there's something else, something that's not adding up. I've been going through the evidence, and there's more to this than just your marriage falling apart. There's something else going on." Rachel's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Hammond leaned forward, his hands resting on the table as he lowered his voice. "We found something in the investigation that's been overlooked. Terrence didn't just leave you with a broken marriage, he left you with a secret. And that secret, Rachel, it's worth millions." Rachel's mind spun. "What are you talking about?" Hammond slid a folder across the table to her. "This is from our financial investigation into Terrence. We found evidence of offshore accounts, hidden assets, and a large sum of money that he never disclosed during the divorce. That $12 million wasn't just lottery winnings, it was part of a larger plan, a carefully constructed web of lies." Rachel's breath caught in her throat. The $12 million, the fortune Terrence had kept hidden from her. It wasn't just his escape fund, it was something bigger. But why had he done this? Why had he gone to such lengths to conceal his wealth? Charles Hammond continued, "There's a network, Rachel, a web of connections that goes beyond just your divorce. And we believe that Terrence wasn't the only one involved in hiding that money. There's someone else behind it all." The air in the room seemed to freeze. Rachel's mind raced, trying to connect the dots. "Someone else? Who? Who's behind this?" Hammond leaned in, his voice now serious. "We don't know yet, but we're digging, and we need you to help us. You were the closest person to Terrence. If we're going to find out who was really pulling the strings, we need to know everything. Every detail, every connection." Rachel sat back in her chair, her mind reeling. She hadn't just killed her husband. She had unwittingly become part of something much larger than she could have ever imagined. This wasn't just a crime of passion. This was a conspiracy. And now she was trapped in the middle of it with no way out. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, looking down at her hands. "Why didn't you trust me, Terrence? Why did you have to do this?" Hammond's expression softened, but there was no time for sympathy. Rachel, we need to figure this out. And the truth is, the answers might not just lie in your past with Terrence. They might lie in the people who helped him get away with it. Rachel swallowed hard. I'm not sure I can help you. I don't know who else could be involved. Hammond's eyes met hers. You don't have to do it alone, Rachel. We'll find out who's behind all of this. Together. As Rachel stared at the folder, a sense of dread washed over her. This wasn't just about Terrence anymore. This was about a much deeper, more dangerous conspiracy. The truth was out there, but so was the danger. And now Rachel was being forced to face it head-on. As the investigation into Terrence's hidden life deepens, new revelations come to light, forcing Rachel to confront the ultimate question. Is the man she once loved truly gone? Or is he lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike again? Stay tuned for part 2, where the final secrets will be revealed and justice will either be served or slip through the cracks. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to follow this gripping story to its explosive conclusion.